versus Dennis Tululin. First to the stage, Dennis Tululin.
First fight of 2024 for the 36-year-old Russian, and it is a big one, trying to snap a three-fight skid against Dumas in the curtain jerker on Saturday. These two were supposed to fight in Saudi Arabia, but Dumas had travel issues, so here we are. Tululin's sloan UFC win came against Jamie Pickett at UFC 279 back in 2022.
There you go, my man, Cedricus Dumas. He didn't have the best growing up, but my man said he was 250 pounds. He looked in the mirror, said, I don't like what I see, has dedicated his life to MMA. He says he doesn't care about the belt. What he wants is the knockout record in the UFC, and it's all going to start tomorrow.
Lightweights up next. You have Chai Herbert taking on Rolando Bedoya.
There he
First
is.
up to the scale, Rolando Bedoya.
Rolando Bedoya, hailing from Peru. He moved his training to shootbox in Brazil about 5 years ago, calls that team his extended family. He's moving to lightweight, making his lightweight debut here in the UFC. This is home, though. This is where he's fought a number of his fights in the past. His coaches said he has to cut a little bit more weight, but this is where he feels he'll have longevity in his career. He's taking this more serious, guys. He's got a mother, little brothers at home that he wants to make a big win for here this week.
Yeah, he better take this serious because he's dealing with the man who almost put Ilia Topuria out. How can we forget about that head kick from the Black Country Banger? I tried to figure out where the Black Country was, but yes, it's
the smog and the smoke in the air in England.
Wolverhampton part of
right.
England. Yes, it is. He considers himself a pretty good, I want to say footballer. I shouldn't say soccer player, but a footballer. But he worked 14 years as a scaffolder and was finally able to quit his job and train full-time by the time he got to the UFC, looking to make some noise now.
I'm glad we have Heidi here to explain everything to
There's
us.
factories in the area.
Yes. Victoria Dudakova taking on Sam Hughes. First to the scale, Sam Hughes.
We got Sam Hughes fighting out of Fortis MMA under the tutelage of Saif Saud. 3-2 in her last 5, and she's facing a really tough undefeated prospect Saturday night. She's really well-rounded. She likes to really get in there and get nasty and dirty, which I think Saif is trying to get away from a little bit. But I do think they believe she's going to need a little bit of that nastiness and grit Saturday night to get a win over the undefeated prospect.
Victoria Dudakova.
She is going to need a lot of that for sure, Anthony. She started her amateur career in 2019, went pro just 1 year later in 2020. She's undefeated with a record of 8-0, looking for her third straight win in the UFC. After her last fight, she went back to Russia, applied for a European visa to go to Europe. She trained in Spain for this camp, working with Ilia Topuria's grappling and boxing coaches. Told me she feels really comfortable there. No, Sam always wins that third round, so she's going to be hunting for a finish early.
Gotta love the pink in the hair, too. It's looking good.
That's new.
I should do that to my hair.
Must have done that last night.
You mean like a pink stripe?
Yeah.
Next up in the lightweight division, Guram Kutateladze taking on Jordan Buchenik.
Man, I really like this guy, Jordan Buchenik. I had a lot of fun researching him. It's his UFC debut. He's originally the Cage Warriors featherweight champion. He's got a really beautiful relationship with his head coach, who also was the Cage Warriors 145-pound champion 16 years later. He's got a beautiful family that seems to really motivate him. He looks like a monster with just covered in tattoos, but he couldn't be a nicer guy. Really happy to see this man make his way to the UFC.
And I got to tell you, man, I was in Anaheim with Aljamain Sterling when Merab was fighting Henry Cejudo. And Guram was with Merab. And he was in the dressing room. I said, oh my God, this guy fights at 155 pounds. I fought at 155 pounds. I said, this guy would have killed me. This guy is so solid. He was a part It was half of one of my favorite fights in 2022 against his fight against Damar Ismagulov. That was one of the best fights I've ever seen. I am so looking forward to watching this man fight. I can't wait till he steps in there.
Vucenic has more ink than you do, Anthony.
That's an intense stare down, too.
Yeah.
These guys are in shape. Unlike me.
Stop.
Taking on Dontel May. First to the scale, Dontel May.
Dontel Mays weighed in at 265 pounds, the limit here this morning at the official weigh-ins. He told me that, of course, he's been training in Albuquerque, working with the greatest of all time, John Jones. Of course, didn't get a lot of work with him for this one, but did say that he had put on 30 pounds last year of muscle. He still has maintained that muscle. Anthony's looking at me with a face over here, but that's what he told me. And he's looking to come in strong in this one. He said that the time changes mess with him a bit, but he's ready.
I put on 30 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, I can tell, Dean. You're looking like it.
Turtleneck. Call the turtleneck.
Because he's put on some muscle, too, making his third walk in the UFC on Saturday night. Grew up training, of course, under the great Abdul Nurmagomedov and all those awesome Dagestani fighters, including Habib. Then he moved to Bahrain to train with KHK MMA. Was on the Contender Series last season and got a contract, then became the first UFC fighter representing Bahrain. Made his debut last December with that dominating second-round knockout win over Martin Budai. Looking for more of the same here on Saturday.
UAE's own Muhammad Yahya taking on Kawi Fernandez. First to the scale, Kawi Fernandez.
Kawi Fernandez, the former Shooto South American champion. This is his second trip to the octagon.
Scale, Kawi Fernandez. Fernandez. And his opponent out of the red corner, the UAE warrior, Muhammad Yahya. Featured bout at light heavyweight on ESPN2. Azamat Murzakanov taking on Alonzo Menefield. First up to the scale, Alonzo Menefield. His opponent, Azamat Murzakanov. For Murzakanov. Up next, for the main card, kicking things off in the lightweight division, Joel Alvarez taking on Elvis Brenner. Elvis Brenner 155 for Elvis Brenner. His opponent coming out of the red corner, Joel Alvarez. Taking on Lupi Godinez. First to the scale, Lupi Godinez. $115.5 for Godinez. Her opponent, Mackenzie Dern. $115.5 for Mackenzie Dern. Welterweights coming up next. Tony El Kakui Ferguson taking on Michael Chiesa. First up to the scale, Michael Chiesa. $170 for Chiesa. And his opponent, Tony El Kakui Ferguson. $170 for Tony Ferguson. Incredible matchup at bantamweight coming up next. Marlon Chito Vera taking on Davison Figueiredo. First to the scale, Davison Figueiredo. $135.5 for Davison Figueiredo. And his opponent, Marlon Vera. Shara Bullet Magomedov taking on Mikhail Oleschenchuk. First to the scale, Mikhail Oleschenchuk. For Oleschenchuk. And his opponent, Shara Bullet Magomedov. $186 for Shara Bullet. It's time for the main event of the evening. First to the scale, Umar Nurmagomedov. $135 for Nurmagomedov. And his opponent, the number 2 ranked Corey Sandhagen.
Итак, я с Умаром Нурмагомедовым. Это важнейший поединок в твоей молодой карьере. Какие у тебя эмоции в преддверии завтрашнего мейн-ивента? Чувствую себя отлично. И я готов сиять. Спасибо.